You for rejoining us. Reintroduce myself, I'm James Westwood, global talent partner here at LHI, and this is the hub. This is where it all started from. In Those Shoes podcast by LHI. I'm in London this week, and I'm very fortunate to be joined by a superstar that I actually supported bringing into the business, and we're probably going to bring up a couple of those things along the way. But Lauren, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren. Really happy to be here. Thanks for letting me join. I'm in our Austin office, heading up our energy storage team, and yeah, really excited to be here with you.
Nice. And firstly, just want to say thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule. I appreciate you being super busy, both work and personal.
I
But
was going to say work or travel.
travel, which we've got to address the elephant in the room. The color difference between myself and you right now is shocking. So, do you want to give us a quick update of what you've been up to the last couple of weeks? I feel like it gives us a good insight to who you are, Lauren.
Yeah. I just got back from a yoga retreat with my mom. We were in Greece for the last 15 or 16 days. My mom actually went last year to Bali on the same yoga retreat with the same leader, and she has not stopped talking about it for the last 12 years, or 12 months. So when she asked me to join, I was like, absolutely, I'll go to Greece with you. So yeah, we went to Greece, we went to Athens, Mykonos, Santorini, and then we did the yoga retreat on an island called the Morgos, and it was amazing. Had the best time, really
Love it.
relaxing. The second half of
Yeah.
that. The first half was
So,
a lot of travel, a lot of party, but it was fun with my
does your
mom,
mum
of
party?
course. She wanted the full experience. I
Heck
asked
yeah.
her, I was like, do you want a quiet time in Mykonos or the real experience? She said, let's do it all. I'm like, say less.
Nice, nice. Is that spirituality? Has that been a big part of who you are for those that don't know who you are?
I'm trying to let that
Okay.
in a little bit more, I think. I think
Yeah.
when I came back, I was actually talking to Jack Eldridge about it. And I think that it's probably pretty important for us all to be a little bit more mindful. And it was really helpful to just get a little new outlet to help myself when things get stressful or too much. So I've never really let myself do nothing before and just practice breath work and being really mindful and intentional. So it was really nice to come back with a new way to help myself when things are getting stressful. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig into it and try and get some tips because no doubt I need
Yeah,
some for sure.
I think everyone does.
So for what we going with? Foz, Lauren, what's
Oh,
your
everyone calls me Fotta, but that's actually not how you say it. I just let it happen because it
how do
sounds
you
better
say
when you
it?
guys say it. It's Fotta.
Foda. Okay,
Yeah, but
nice.
everyone says Fotta and it sounds real nice, so I just let that happen.
Okay. Well, this is an educational podcast as well. So
That's true. So
the
it's
Austin
Lauren Fotta for those who are listening.
for those that you work with for the last 2.5 years,
I'll know who's seen
get it
this.
wrong. Yeah, good. Well, let's get
Yeah.
into it then. So we talk about on this podcast that the whole concept of this is called the younger you, right? And put yourself in the shoes of when you, I guess, first started in recruitment and that journey that you've gone on. And again, referencing the point that I was involved in bringing you over to the business, so we'll focus on that a little bit later on. But it's always a great story of how you, I always say, stumble into recruitment. Your
Mhm.
journey, for anyone who looks at your profile, I guess in theory looks atypical, graduated whilst in a different university in a different location, but looks like pretty straightforward what fell into recruitment. So can you walk us through that backstory of how you came into recruitment? Obviously it wasn't with LHI initially, which again is all great experience that the younger you is about learning from, but can you walk us through those initial steps of how you found yourself in this crazy industry?
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty similar to a lot of people's stories. I had no idea what recruitment was when I joined. It's not something I know it's really common in the UK, but in the States, it's definitely not an industry that's talked about enough and not super, I guess, popular to talk about at career fairs or throughout college. And so I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I was a college grad that just had a double major in management and leadership, psychology, just the two most general things I could think of that could possibly help me get a job So I started tackling, do I want to do management consultant? Do I want to do HR? I'm not sure. And it was actually my uncle that helped me through this. And I've never told him that. So maybe I'll
So he's
send
the
this to
one
him
to
after.
blame.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. The last
Yeah.
7 years. No, it was, we were talking, I think at one of my cousin's football games, and we were just in conversation. He's like, you should really do sales. He's a big sales
Yeah.
executive in Florida. And so I just kind of resonated with that a little bit and reflected, maybe I should. I like talking to people. I like chit-chatting. So I feel like that would be a good path for me to go down. And I had never really thought about myself in that way. And we'll get into that, I guess, too, of how I view myself and how I kind of
Yeah.
portray myself at work. But anyways, I just started having some conversations with some recruitment firms. I actually really wanted to move to Denver after college, and
Okay.
so I started
What's the
talking with
pull
some firms
there?
out there. Well, it was I love the mountains. I love being outside, and so I think growing up in Ohio, it was so flat
Sure.
that I was looking for the exact opposite of big mountains and scenic views and things like that. So obviously I didn't land there and ended up in Texas, but I'm so glad that I did and happened to stumble into a job with another recruitment firm that I had offers for in Austin and LA. As a broke college grad, I really tried to make LA work, but my parents were like, "You're being an idiot."
Yeah.
And so I listened to them and I went to Austin and yeah, haven't looked back. It's been amazing. So
And you
yeah,
said
and
7 years ago, right? So
yeah,
Austin as a place, even from when I last visited, which was probably maybe 4 years ago, I understand has changed dramatically. What was it
it's
like in
crazy.
Austin when you first got there?
Yeah, it was, I
And was the
mean,
pool, sorry to jump in, was the pool there,
yeah.
the cost of living was just the cheapest for you, or was
Yeah,
there
it
other motivating factors?
Yeah, it was a lot cheaper. I mean, first of all, no state taxes. That was amazing. But
Tick.
yeah. But it was a lot cheaper. And also it was just starting. I mean, it had a few years of momentum, but it was just starting that really fast growth period that it's been in for the last 10, 15 years
Yeah.
of a lot of people moving there, a lot of great things to experience. I hadn't really heard anything bad about Austin as opposed to LA's obviously got amazing things to experience, but it's definitely got its reputation and a certain draw of people that want to go there. And so I just found myself gravitating towards the Austin culture of the Southern way of life. Everyone's very friendly. It was similar to the Midwest where I grew up, where people are slow in a good way, like just taking time to appreciate everything around you. And I think it was just the people, and just something different. I hadn't known anyone that I actually had never been to Texas, so this was just all assumption. But
Wow.
yeah,
Big
I
leap
just
of
wanted to do
faith.
something a little different. Yeah, it was. That's how I picked my college. That's how I picked Austin. Just trying to do something a little bit different, and so it ended up working out. It was great, but it has changed so much. There's been a lot of development, a lot of
For better or for
low.
worse?
Well, if you ask people that have been in Austin for a long time, like the very native
Yeah,
Austinites, they'd probably have a different opinion than me, but
sure.
I've really liked it. I think it's afforded everyone that's moved here a lot of new opportunities, new
Mm,
things to experience. So, yeah, there's a lot of people moving in, and there's definitely growing pains with that being a really small city
sure.
compared to Dallas, Houston. But yeah, it's really blown up, and I've loved every bit of it except maybe the traffic, but that's
Nice. Okay,
okay.
good. So, stepping into recruitment, I think the first role you were in there for a couple of years, right? And
Yeah,
entry point was engineering, if I'm right in thinking. So, give me an
it was.
insight to bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Foda who doesn't know
Good
anything about
catch.
recruitment. Someone told them the idea of sales, and you find yourself in I'd assume an office, and
Yeah,
give us an insight to that first 6 months and what that journey was like, because we see typically as a trend in the industry that first 6 months it's either what have I got myself in for, get me out of here, or it's
yeah,
duck to water. I love made for me. Maybe the environment's not right for you, but the role, the opportunity, potential financials is for you. Give us an insight
yeah.
for the first 6 months of how you found it.
Yeah, honestly, for my first year, it was really tough. I
Yeah.
joined and I was kind of the guinea pig of our contract recruitment team
Okay.
when I first started, and we were doing industrial recruitment. So we were recruiting these big industrial facilities that needed cleaned for multiple weeks. We were recruiting the crews that went out there for 2 weeks at a time and did that during the turnarounds and outages out in West Texas. So it was a pretty volatile industry. There were a lot
Sure.
of droppers. So you're constantly just trying to backfill the people that are quitting. And so it's really high volume, a lot of work. And just generally, recruitment was a huge shock. Again, I had no idea anything about this industry. Even the interview process, it wasn't really clear afterwards. It was a lot of talk about what it would look like, but I was having a hard time never being in it before, actually visualizing what
Sure.
that was going to be. And I think I was just in a really like high KPI activity expectation environment. And so not really knowing what I'm getting into, the industry that I was in, and just the environment that I was in, it was a ton of pressure and it was really tough. I remember having a multiple points where throughout the first 6 months, a year, where I was like, am I cut out for this? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? But um, yeah, I had a lot of faith that I was good at it and that things were going to turn around. And I just kept believing that. And eventually it did. But I think it took a little bit longer for me, given the company hadn't really done contract recruitment before. It
Sure.
was a pretty bad failed experience. So that obviously led to a pretty quick exit to the next company. But I stayed for a year and a half. I feel pretty proud about that.
And
Gave
you
it a
got a
good go.
promotion. You got
And I got a
promotion within the first
promotion.
8 months, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
speaks
Yeah.
to the success, right? I mean, what do
Yeah.
you, looking back on that first 18 months or so, what did you learn about that? Obviously you referenced there that you made a move to another organization within that 18-month period, which is not uncommon, right?
Yeah.
What
Sure.
did you learn about that? Or I guess what did you take away from, because the idea of this podcast, right, Lauren, is to be able to give people insights of, maybe they're going through a similar situation, right? And how can they get the most out of it, or how can they figure out how they're going to move forward in their career? What could you take away from that first period of your career, and I guess bringing us to that point of, making that decision that you've got to go somewhere else?
Yeah. Great question. I think it's really important to just be really clear about what you're trying to get out of every opportunity. It goes back to a yoga practice and even just leading with more intention. Like,
That was
what are
eight
you?
minutes. 8 minutes, you got it back in. That's a record. I love it.
I mean, everything that you're doing, what are you doing it for? It's important to have little goals for yourself, big goals for yourself, but I've always operated in the way that if I haven't accomplished what I want to accomplish in that time frame within that experience, then my time's just not done there yet. So sometimes that's a promotion, sometimes that's a new skill set, sometimes it could be other things. And for me, I was at the very beginning of my career, I was very promotion driven. I just wanted to get to that next level. I just wanted the recognition that I was moving forward, developing, and a promotion was the most tangible way for me to measure that I was being successful, other
Yeah,
than commission. And I wanted to detach commission from success because I knew there were so many other things that I could develop that would make me successful in terms of skill sets and mindsets. And so I just felt that once I had accomplished that promotion in the first year, I started thinking about, okay, I know this isn't probably my forever home.
sure.
So I just let things develop as far as they could. And once the cons started outweighing the pros, I knew it was time to start making a move. But it wasn't until I had hit that accomplishment or that
Sure.
milestone that I was sought out to get, until I started, thinking about that. Obviously, there are situations where you've just got to get out. If it's a really bad environment, you've got a really poor relationship with your coworkers, with your managers, there are certain situations where it's absolutely best to leave. But I think I really just wanted to stick with it and get as much as I could out of that opportunity before moving on.
Where does the I guess I would call that like commerciality of you. I can relate to it in my first role that I did in recruitment. Within 3 months, I knew that this wasn't going to
Yeah,
be the long term home for me. But I needed I knew I needed to do a year. For you, that was my goal, to get to that year. For you, it was
yeah,
obviously that promotion. But I had probably more life experience in the way of working in a previous role and having a little bit more about it. What did you pull from at that point to know to focus on that goal, to get into that position? Because some people might have knee-jerk reactions, right? What do you pull from? Is there people in your network personally that you can lean on? Obviously, I think you referenced your uncle was someone who supported you in getting into sales or recruitment.
yeah.
What do you pull from? I know it's a deep question.
Yeah, I really leaned on my coworkers in that moment to just stick with it for the 12, 18 months that I did. So I really leaned on them because I had a great relationship with a lot of people that I was working with. I loved working with them, and so it was really easy to be there with them because they made it a little bit better every day. And I drew on that. I don't know, my mom just kind of raised me that way. And also I've just always thought that you can do anything for a year. A year is not, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long. And so I just kind of like block out everything when I'm feeling that way. And maybe you pick up and travel for 2 weeks, or do something. But a year goes by so fast. And so I really just wanted to, yeah, stick with it as long as I could. And I just kind of grew up thinking that I could do anything for at least a year. So that's where
Yeah,
I did
yeah,
it.
I think there's going to be a trend that occurs here when we talk about your next role and that the progress and success that you've had there. And me knowing you a little bit better, I know that it's coming. But that decision to rip the band-aid off and leave, and that's one thing. It's another thing to go and do it in a completely different industry, right? You
Yeah.
have 14, 16 months experience in one industry. For most people that I speak to, they're married almost at that point to that industry, that market. That's all they know. That's their comfort zone, right? You're
Hmm.
clearly someone who's not afraid of stepping outside of that. So walk us through that transition, and how you found what, in essence, is a great period of your career to date, right? In the three
Yeah.
years that you were there, three promotions, and I mean that's obviously when you came onto my radar and LHI's. So help us understand that transition. Let's go back a little bit and think about how you approached your search. Did you use a rec to rec? Did you go directly? Did you use that skills of recruitment that you'd learned over the last 18 months?
Yeah, it was actually a little bit of skills that I had used over the last 18 months and just some LinkedIn networking, but it was also just pretty serendipitous timing. And when I think back at, both of my moves, or a couple of my moves, I think it was a little bit of timing, but I had known that I was ready to leave. And so I had started just networking around a little bit, connecting with people on LinkedIn and having some side conversations. And I just happened to get connected with my old director who was based in New York, but was in Austin for the week and just asked if I wanted to go grab lunch. And it just felt like really great timing. I was pretty ready to get out of that environment. I was ready for different conversations with candidates, and
Sure.
I wanted to, evolve my skill set a little bit further. And so I took the lunch and we just hit it off right away. We had such a good relationship. We're friends first. And I knew that I could see myself working with this person really well. And so, yeah, we talked for a little bit, came in for some interviews, chatted through what that would look like. It obviously was a brand new market that I was super unfamiliar with, and I could have done tech or I could have done creative. And so I think just in my personal life, I resonated a lot more with the creative market. It excited me. I wanted to explore what that industry was on a professional level. For me, all I knew was
Sure.
corporate world. And so I was like, oh my gosh, people do this for a living. So
Yeah.
it was really cool. So I decided to do that. And alongside my old director, built out that creative market. Yeah, for the 3.5 years that we were there. And yeah, it honestly such a great decision. It felt really freeing. It felt right. And I think a lot of that was like the relationship that I had with that individual. It definitely made the transition a lot easier, but it just helped me realize that it was the right time.
That curiosity is something that I think I see a lot when I speak to senior people, that if they have that bug to be intrigued to a different market, or a different way of working, that I think is really important when you're going to make a jump. But you also referenced there the individual that you subsequently joined and worked directly with. If you have that person that you back 120%,
Yeah.
then you know that if certainly if you're friends first, then they're going to have your back through the ups and downs. And I guess you can utilize that previous experience that you've had to know when to put your hand up and say that you're struggling. And I guess that helps massively, right? So 3 years, three promotions in that time. Give us an insight to how you evolved as a person, first and foremost, but as a recruiter. I appreciate you went down management down that road as well. So obviously at this point you've transitioned from a different industry, you figure out a new way of working. I would argue that in most UK firms it's probably very similar,
Yeah.
good or bad, but so
Yeah.
I would assume the processes were similar. But that 3 years, if you're able to wrap it up in a nutshell, are you able to give us an idea of how you grew and developed as a person, as a recruiter during that time?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew so much over those 3.5 years. I look back at it and it's crazy thinking about who I was when I joined and the person that joined LHI. I think those 3.5 years, and I mean, not just from a work sense, but in your mid 20s, it's such a pivotal point in your life. And so I think there was just a lot of growing going on personally and professionally for me. But yeah, I joined as an individual contributor, just tasked with building out as much as I could of that market, and
Are
no
you
one
still
was doing.
contract at this point?
I did. Yeah, I did start as contract. Yeah.
Okay.
So that didn't scare me off, I guess.
No, clearly not.
But yeah, we did a lot of contract. I think for creative, we kind of just floated both, which probably didn't bode well. In the end, I probably needed to just pick a lane, but I did a little bit of both because I was the only one doing it, and there was no one else that could fill the roles. And honestly, I was loving it so much I didn't want to pass anything off, so I was just working everything. But once we started really kicking off with our existing client base that we did have, just tapping into that product and creative side of it, and then finding some new clients to work with, things just really got a little bit too much for myself to handle. So pretty early on, I think between the workload that we were bringing in and just the type of person that I am, I was really quickly looking for a new skill to develop, of course. And so I was really excited that work was at the point where I probably could bring in a couple people to mentor. And so we brought a few people over that were already joined with the business to help support some of the creative workload. And that was the beginning of the management route. And I was like, oh, I kind of like this. It was really.
What did you enjoy about it? Was it the concept that you could, I guess, the commercial side and provide more to the clients that you're working with and provide a better service, more bigger service, so you could go after some pipeline dreams maybe of clients? Or was it actually, were you bought into the people management piece? Because I think even here at LHI over the last probably 3 years, we've evolved that model of the typical trap, right? Of, oh,
Yeah.
you're a very good 360 recruiter. Let's go and build a team around you because you're very good at 360, regardless of whether they're interested in people management or not. Let's just focus on the fact that you can earn a team override. Or what was it that piqued your interest?
It was definitely the people management. I loved seeing myself be able to transfer skills that I learned and see people pick those things up. It was just I've never been in that situation before. I've always, you know, moved towards leadership positions throughout college, throughout high school, like always wanted to be in that position, but it was never really a skill transfer thing. It was
Sure.
just, you know, gravitated towards that level. And then I got to mentor these people and I saw them doing the things that I was doing and starting to be successful in that. And that was just really cool to see that you can teach. And that's not something that I've ever done before. So I was really excited by that skill and I just really enjoyed seeing their successes. It was really fun to have people like real I mean it's a lot of pressure to have people relying on you for their success. So
Sure.
that was definitely tricky to navigate from a headspace perspective, but it was really rewarding. Like that reward of seeing people win was awesome. And so I kind of rode that high a little bit. And once I got the hang of mentoring, my director was great. He was like, mentor these people, don't manage them. I'll be responsible for their success right now. Just get the hang of the delivery of things, the communication, and just get in the habit of what that seat looks like. And so once we did that, then things kind of took off. And I ended up having a team of 5 before I left that were at all different levels, but all of them individual contributors. And we had a really successful hybrid perm and contract recruitment team going on. So yeah, it was a lot of developing. I had to be really conscious of how I showed up every day, my communication. I'm a very expressive person, and so it's very hard for me to know what my expression looks like. And I feel a lot of emotion. So oftentimes my face is, you know, making all crazy things throughout the day based on how I'm feeling. But yeah, it was really hard to kind of rein that in. And it's something I'm probably still working on a little bit, but luckily I'm in a great mood right now. So anyway,
Got you right
anyways,
off the back of a holiday. Great.
yeah.
Well timed. Is it something that it was natural, or did you have to nurture it? That concept of reining yourself back a little bit to give more, arguably, to the team that you had. Was it something that you
Oh,
consciously had to
so
work on?
natural.
Yeah.
No, so natural. I wanted to give like everything to my team at all times, and I still do. I think the unnatural part for me and the hardest part is finding a way to be like the bearer of bad news or deliver
Mm.
that difficult communication because I'm so the cheerleader, I'm so
Yeah.
supportive, I'm, you know, I hope approachable and I want to solve problems. And so it was really natural for me to be in that seat and natural to help the team in that way. But when it came time to having the difficult conversations, holding people accountable to higher standards, that part was really hard for me because I just wanted to be everyone's friend. And I mean, I just want to be everyone's friend all the time. And so that's something that I've constantly had to work on. And it's definitely that in the coaching part, the questions that you have, you know, the leading questions and trying to set things up. It's a real conscious effort and your communication goes so far in those types of conversations. And so yeah, it's something that it was the hardest and still is the hardest for me to develop in this type of seat. But no, being the leader of the group like that was very natural. That was fun.
I think people that are listening or watching this now will probably get an insight of what I experienced when I first engaged with you, which took a long time, I must admit. But they say you got to be patient for the best ones, right? So help for the purposes of this, and again, this is where obviously that success that you've started to develop, that management skill, you're almost, I don't want to say you're completing recruitment at this time, but you are trending
Yeah.
in a really high trajectory of ticking all the boxes that from a rec to rec or competitors are going to make it appealing for you or going to be promising you the world, right? So how did you help us understand, you don't have to go into the details, but generally where you found yourself to be in a position where you felt that you're maybe stagnating, and I'm using those words,
Yeah,
not you here, but where, I mean, again, you talk all positives, right? So which is
sure.
what we love, glass half full, but there must have been some things that are wearing away at you that makes that conversation, that I think it was maybe Chloe, right, that reached out to you initially. I won't
Yeah.
take the claim. I'll say that I tried to close you, but I think there was a pretty tasty counter offer that came your way, which we might talk about. But help us understand where you're at, and I guess you're probably cognizant of 3 years is a great time, but you're having already one move. I remember when I first spoke to you, you weren't sure about whether you wanted to do another move, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was having a great time, especially towards the end. It was the best I had been performing, the
Mm.
most I had been earning. I was doing contract recruitment, and I had built up my contractor book to be at a point where I was consistently earning more than I ever had with my contractors just kind of running. And so it just, everything just was moving in the right direction from that standpoint.
Where are you
I think
personally, or your headspace?
personally, I was in a pretty tough spot. I was navigating some like family changes that were going on, and I was back at home in Cleveland for a couple months, and I was just kind of reflecting. I had just actually pitched this whole new idea to my old company of, let me open up a new office. This is going to be great. I want to go spearhead it. I'm going to Denver again, back to Denver. I had this whole idea, got everyone on board. My dad lives out there now. I got him really excited about it. Poor dad. Still here in Texas, but I had this whole idea that this was going to be my next move, because you're right. I was feeling like I had accomplished a lot. I
Mm.
had done what I came to do. I came to learn how to manage. I had a team of 5 underneath me. They were all happy. I was doing great. So I was like, what's next? And that just felt like at the time, I was like, that feels like a great next step. I feel really confident that I can do this. But with everything going on at home, and with yeah, with I don't know, just life at the time, I started thinking about, and just how I was at work too. I started feeling really successful. So I think my support started tapering off a little bit, and they're like, "Oh, Lauren's good. She's
Yeah.
fine. Just go with it." And I just, as you can probably tell, just want to continue evolving always, and I want to have a relationship with, upper leadership where I can continue to work on things. I don't ever want to feel like I've accomplished recruitment, because I just think that there's always stuff that you can continue learning in this job, which is the best part about it. But yeah, so I had everyone on board. I was going to Denver. I had a going away party.
You got that
And
far?
I got that far with all my friends here. And yeah, and then everything happened at home. So I was in Cleveland, and I was getting ready to figure out where I was going to move in Denver. And Chloe reached out, and I actually knew someone, Adrian actually, that used to work at Pipermatics, and she had always said such good things about Chloe. They're good friends still, and great things about Pipermatics. And so I always had that in my head, LHI. I think at the time the EOT had just gotten announced too,
Yeah.
so it was at the forefront of my
Mhm.
mind. And I think it was a little bit of that was kind of it was just being announced, so it's on my mind, but also it was the fact that I was at home. I wasn't, online in the office. I was
Mm.
dealing with stuff at home, and so I was like, I have time. Let me just take this call and see. Like, I don't know why. I probably wouldn't have taken the call. I was getting ready to go to Denver
Yeah.
if I was still in Austin, but I just happened to be at home. And um I took the call. And if you ask Chloe, she's like, I just happened to message you. I didn't even think you were gonna answer, but I just happened to message you. So we just talk about that. It was kind of funny. Neither one of us thought that, that was gonna happen. But yeah, we just got to talking, and I realized that um that would be a pretty significant move for me to go out to Colorado and start this new office when I'm not in the best headspace. I'm feeling my support kind of taper off. Like, am I going to be set up for success? And so it just opened up the floodgate of questions that I probably hadn't been asking
Mm.
myself. And at the time, I really wasn't looking to move. That was a great opportunity that I was presented with. And it just got me thinking, am I in the best position to succeed, or am I gonna quickly fail at this? And I wouldn't let myself fail, but I started asking, do I have everything I need to be in a position to be successful? And so that's how that happened. That's how the start of it happened, I guess.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah.
What were those questions that you were asking yourself, I guess, post that first conversation with Chloe? I'm sure
Yeah.
I was sowing the seed of a few things, maybe, but
Yeah.
probably guilty of that. But what for others listening, right? And maybe there's an opportunity for those for someone to go and set up a new office, or to, you, on my understanding, where you were the golden goose, right, in that business at that
Yeah.
time. And that's what made it so significant for us when Mike Giorgio got involved, which he never normally does in processes. We knew we were dealing with a big fish at that point. But
Oh.
what were the questions you were asking yourself about whether you should go and do this? Because don't get me wrong, it's a great opportunity to do that, right? And
Yeah.
great exposure. But I also see it far too often that people go and do those things, and you make that point very clear, right? The setup for success. What were the questions you were asking yourself to know whether to question yourself, perhaps, on whether this was the right
Yeah.
decision?
I think first it was just the support that I was going to get. Like, how often am I going to have leadership out there with me? For how long am I going to be out there by myself? And a lot of that was pretty ambiguous on
Mm,
who was going to be out there with me, working with me, and who was going to help set me up for the strategy. And a lot of that was on me. And that's what we were working with on together, of what markets we were gonna attack, how we were gonna scale it, how many people we were gonna bring in first. Like, all of those were things that we were working on ahead of time. But it was a lot of just, yeah, what type of support am I getting first and foremost? And I didn't really get a clear indication of that. And so that left me with a lot of questions and a lot of ambiguity on that. And that's not something I ever want to feel. I don't ever want to feel like I'm out there on an island,
sure.
especially in a big move like that. I was taking a huge risk, moving my life. Obviously, my dad was out there, but like, other than that, I
You
mean,
can't get him on the phone, right? So
yeah, I mean, he is not in recruitment,
yeah.
and so it was a really big risk for me to do that. And so I didn't want to feel like a, team of one out there, with our CEO being in the UK and having to, handle all of the offices out there. I just wasn't sure. And then after that, which probably was the biggest thing that led me to the difficult decision, was what type of value am I gonna get? Like, how are they valuing me for taking this risk and doing this big thing and
Mm,
helping the company? Like, what type of value, or how are they valuing me? And so I started asking questions about, well, can I get this? What about these? Like, the negotiation process of
yeah.
what my actual package was going to look like, what my stake was in the
Mm,
success of that office. Those are all questions that I probably didn't really start thinking about until the EOT. And I was like, you know what? That's actually a really great idea that you guys do that. And so it actually inspired me to ask those questions for myself at my last company. And can I have those things? And ultimately, it was met with a no. And I just was really disappointed, because I felt like I was taking, not to keep saying it, but I was taking a huge risk. And I just, if I were to go out there and be successful, I wanted to be rewarded for it. And I wanted to know that I had the backing to be successful. And those were two things that I just wasn't clear about and wasn't satisfied with the answer that I got. And so, yeah, it made things a lot easier throughout the process, and gave me a lot of clarity. This was all happening like simultaneously as I was speaking with you guys and having those conversations. But it was really helpful to just I hadn't really talked through that with anyone. And it was actually, there were certain points, especially with like preliminary conversations where I was like, you know what, this is just too much change. Like I've got a good thing going. Why am I doing this? And it was actually, you guys can thank my mom. My mom was like, Lauren, just stick with it. Just do it. Just finish out the process. You're gonna like, you won't regret finishing it. You'll regret not finishing the conversation. Even if you turn around and you say, you know what, it's not for you. You've got a great thing going. You won't regret having the option. But I was at a point where there were multiple points where I was ready to just be like, it's too much. It's too much change in my life right now. Even though I was
Well, thank
considering a
you,
move to
Mrs. Fotta.
Denver. Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Fotta. What was the
She really pushed me.
what was the opposite the opposite question then? What gave you that confidence? Because yes, moving to Denver is a big decision, but I would argue that going to a competitor in the same city, which is a small city, as you've already alluded to,
Yeah.
where recruitment, if we're honest with ourselves, is quite incestuous, that is not an easy decision to make by any
Yeah.
stretch of the imagination, right? And I know
No, it's hard.
it, yeah, and it took a lot. I remember speaking to you when I was on the way to watching a soccer game, and I said to Georgie, I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen, you know.
Yeah.
And so
I
what
remember
gave
that conversation.
good? I'd say I lost hair from it, but I don't know. I'm not sure. But
It was tough. I mean,
what what gave you the
yeah,
confidence?
I had such a good relationship as I've talked about with my last manager, and
Mm,
it was really hard. It was really hard to walk away from something that's good. I think it's really easy to make decisions when things are going poorly and you're in a bad situation. You've got maybe you're not doing well, things aren't going right. It's really easy to say this is a great time to make a switch because
mhm,
things have gotten so bad. I think I took my first experience of letting things get so bad in my first
mm,
job that I was like, I've got to get out of here.
yeah,
Granted, I was gunning for that promotion. I wanted to get to that next step, but I did stay for a long time after that. And I just let things get to a point where it was so bad for both sides that I was like, I've got to get out of here.
yeah,
And I just didn't want that again. Like it was just I like regret that ending. And I didn't want to have another situation where I had put in so much work in my life to building out that market for my last company for the last 3.5 years. Like I wanted things to end on a good note. And granted, it was going to be difficult to, walk away after I had just, pitched this whole idea of
yeah.
let's start a new office. So that wasn't an easy conversation, but I just kind of reflected on how it went the first time, and I knew that it's better to take a leap of faith and make a move for your personal relationships, for your sanity, for your, for just the sake of not burning bridges and leave on a good note. Um, and just take a really like exciting new opportunity than it is to let things unfold and potentially get too bad and let that force you into a new opportunity. So I would say what gave me the confidence was just um, I guess the idea that I was going to get to make the decision for me, and it was coming from a place of option and decision rather than just letting things
Sure.
happen and having the decision being like kind of made for me or being too apparent. So I liked being in control of what that next step was.
And was there anything about, I mean, we'll get into your life at LHI and Piper Maddox shortly, but was there anything that stood out to you about that process that you went speaking with Chloe, Jack, was the C-suite that got involved? Was there anything, was maybe renewables, was that an exciting piece for you? The opportunity of continuing management, etc. Can you
Yeah.
think back to then of anything that stood out to you about what gave you again that confidence that this is going to be the right move? And you've obviously got a lot of self-confidence to back yourself that you'll make it work, which is
Yeah.
important for any recruiter. But was there anything that you felt along that process?
Yeah, I mean it was definitely the people that I interviewed with. I think on top of a lack of support and not lack of support, but just the tapering support that I had felt in my last job, it was also A lot of like the strategy behind decisions and the vision, like that wasn't always 100% clear. It was kind of just go with what's right in that moment and we'll figure it out. And I always wanted to develop a little bit more of a strategic skill set. I wanted to be a more informed and educated thinker in how I'm going about building a business. And ultimately, I wanted to learn more of the business side of how to grow a team, a market, like what goes into
Mhm.
running a business, how to manage a P&L. And that was stuff that I just wasn't um, privy to at my last company. And so I wanted to explore that. And it was really apparent that when I was talking to you, when I was talking to Chloe, Jack, Georgie, everyone was so educated and so smart, so on it, had a lot of, was able to show exactly what the vision was. Obviously, the vision is so, so clear at LHI, which was another thing that kind of drew me to it. But um, it was just really evident that there was a different they were operating at a different level, just by what was going on in those conversations, and I was really intrigued by that. I felt like I was ready to continue my education and recruitment, to continue my learning and development. And I felt really confident in those conversations that these were individuals that were going to be able to give me that opportunity. And that I'm going to be able to learn from. Like they're so involved and switched on, and I was really inspired by those conversations. So yeah, I think that really stood out to me for sure. Was throughout the interview process was just the high level conversations that I was having. It made things really clear that things were just in like different categories, I think. So obviously I was really excited about renewables too. And it came at a good time, the switch. But yeah, it was the people.
Nice, nice. And we're very grateful for that decision that was made, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, manager within Piper Maddox of Austin of our energy storage team. Rumors, if I'm right in thinking of a potential promotion on the cards. So I'm going to get in early and say congratulations on that front.
Don't jinx me.
Yeah. Give us a day in the life of Foda. Can we see your partner in crime? Can we get him on screen quickly?
Oh, yeah, blue. All right.
Because we weren't just hiring you,
Eh?
right?
Oh,
There
yeah.
he is. What a
Yeah.
beautiful
Oh,
boy.
so tired.
He's lifting his paw up because he wants a little
Yeah,
cuddle.
very, very tough life
Give us
that blue
give
lives.
it give us an insight, a day in the life of Lauren. What does that look like? Give us an insight, I guess a little bit to your market, but your role, your responsibility, the bigger picture of whether you know this or not, being the cultural architect in our Austin office. Like,
So currently managing a group of individuals for our energy storage team that's actually as of this week, you get the first inside scoop. Changing
an
a little bit.
exclusive.
The exclusive scoop. Yeah, you've heard
Nice.
it here first. Austin has officially merged energy storage and solar into renewables. And so I'm really excited to be a part of that
What does that
change.
mean?
So I think as the markets evolved, I mean, Piper Maddox is always trying to stay on top of the way the industry is moving. I think that's why we've been so successful. We've opened up all these new markets to accommodate for the demands of the industry, but so we're always trying to evolve the way and grow the way the industry is. I think it became really evident that we our solar and storage team were doing a lot of similar type work. And so I think it made more sense for us rather to look at solar and storage as individual technology skill sets that have separate teams, to group those together into renewables, and then potentially look at exploring more of a clean tech focus later, the way the other offices have things set up between
Sure.
renewables and clean tech. So we've put a lot of work in over the last couple months to decide how this is going to look, but yeah, so now I'm managing a team of individuals that are looking at origination and development skill sets within the renewables group. So solar storage, wind, things like that. But yeah, managing a group, Alessandra and Ashley, they're doing phenomenal, but obviously for most of my career here, I've been managing the energy storage group of Bailey. Darcy was here. We have Alessandra, Ashley, Riley. We've had some really good individuals, but yeah, so come in every day with my dog. Got now 3 dogs in the
How many
office.
dogs?
It's
I was
too
gonna say,
much.
how many dogs is there on
Well,
rotation this time?
well, we've got 2 that regularly come in. We've got a couple features that come in. The other day we had 3 and it was chaotic. But yeah, we've had a lot of new starters too that also have dogs and that should bring their dogs in more. So
Yeah,
we're gonna have to figure out a rotation very quickly. But
nice,
that's gonna be
nice.
sad for Blue. We can't tell her because she's usually in every day.
Yeah, nice, nice.
Yeah.
And so now focusing on being in the business for 2 and a bit years, and we've referenced the whole purpose of this podcast is the younger you, and I think you've very elegantly talked through a little bit of your learnings through that. The concept of the younger you from Jim again is to put yourself in a younger version of yourself, right? And how can you create that smoother pathway to success for others that you've referenced that you're managing and mentoring at the moment. What does that mean for you in essence of the younger you when you think about when you're in that office with that leadership hat on? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. It's
It's a very deep
th-
question that we should
well,
probably be
no, it's
asking on a yoga
yeah.
retreat.
It's one that I resonate with a lot. I love the younger you concept because I think back to my first, again, 6 months in recruitment, and I remember being in every day from like, I don't know, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. at times, just cranking out, adding people to our system, trying to like just get ahead and do so much. And I remember as the years went on, it's very easy to look back and be like, oh, like I had it so hard. I worked for 12 hours a day. Like everyone should work for 12 hours a day and have that experience. But I actually I don't believe in that because I know how that felt in that moment to have to do things and be the guinea pig for certain situations and figure things out and build. And so I think it's really cool to afford people the opportunity to come in and make an environment better for them to be set up for success a lot faster because ultimately, especially in LHI, the faster that we all get there, the more we're all going to win and succeed from
Mhm.
that. And so to me is a really important idea and concept that we practice and I try and practice. Not humble brag, won the Younger You Award for Austin
Love that.
last year. But no, I think to my fault sometimes. I'm always the manager that's just going to pour everything into the team and drop everything at on a whim to help someone, to hear them out, to offer advice, to figure out a solution. I'm there and I never want someone to feel unsupported or that they've they're lost and don't have someone to ask for advice. And so I'm conscious that I want to be that for people. Maybe I could rein it in a little and just find some balance. But I think it goes appreciated and I don't know. I find it hard to switch off or even rein back that side of my personality. So for me, I'm always leading with that.
I think we love you for it as well. So don't change for 1 second. I think that's that, you referenced that earlier about making it smoother to settle into the business. And yeah, we can talk about the the database, the keywords, the adding of clients, candidates, or even revenue on the board, right? They're all important things that I think everybody anticipates when you're joining a new business, that those things are there, and it's not always the case. But that cultural piece, right, of helping that person when they first join the business, and you think back to 2 years ago when you were welcomed in, and what was that onboarding experience like for you, and how can you make it that 1%, that marginal gain better. I think that's what, from my experience of being in the Austin office, I haven't been in the new swanky office that you are in now, but
Oh, yeah, you've got to see it.
yeah, I'm hoping to get a trip maybe next year, but that is something that you have played a huge part in, and obviously Jack has masterminded. Give people an insight to what that is like culturally in that office.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love our culture so much. And I think anyone that comes to visit our office will say the same. And I've actually taken it upon myself to visit every single office in LHI US business on my personal travels through work. I'll always pop in and say hi because I just want to, meet everyone and see what everyone else has going on and see what the offices are like. But and I've had a great experience everywhere went, but I do think that Austin has something truly so special about their culture. Everyone, and maybe that's just Texas, maybe that's again just our Southern charm, but everyone's so friendly and personable, approachable. Everyone is very friendly with each other. Like we're all leaning on each other for personal and for work support, which I think has allowed us to become like a little bit more like a family. We're so close knit, and I really appreciate that about our office because this job is tough. It's not an easy, cushy 9 to 5 job that you can kind of like switch off for a second if things are getting hard. Like it's constantly on the go. I mean, if you know any, of course, sales is, it's always go, go, go. What's next? What's next? And it can be a lot of pressure, especially in a high expectation environment where we're all working towards this goal and we want to, hit our EOT numbers as quickly as we can. And we're all really motivated by that. So we're all working extremely hard, but that comes with a lot of difficulties as well. Like people need ways to decompress and people need support systems. And so if you don't have an environment around you, and like I said, at my first job, I stayed for probably 8 months extra because of the people around me, my coworkers, that made it easier. But if you don't have that support system around you, it can almost feel a little like suffocating, like you don't have an escape of where to go, like things are hard in your environment, you don't have anyone to turn to. And so yeah, our Austin office is awesome for that. Like we just help each other so much. And it's there's a lot of stress toys floating around. We're all
I'm sure
we've
the
all got
dogs
our little
help as well,
stress,
right?
the dogs, we've got emotional support animals,
Yeah.
stress toys. We around 3 o'clock, people start making some, random weird noises, and we
Yeah.
get silly, but it helps get through the day. And I wouldn't change it.
I think the one thing that I've learned with working with Jack, and I think we can probably even use your process as an example of that, is what Jack is very set on is hiring a good human, which we are just generally speaking across the board here. But I
Yeah,
think predominantly in your process, and I think in Austin, we were very conscious of we want Lauren to be Lauren. We don't want her to be anything that we already have in the business or perhaps what we're going to bring into the business. We want you to be your authentic self. And I think that's something that Jack has done very well in the people that we brought in. We haven't just hired because we need people. We haven't just hired because the markets are great. When we've done that, however, we've been very specific, but at the forefront, it doesn't matter what people have built or where they've come from. They have to be that good human. They have to be that authentic self because, and I'm a big believer of this too, that when we add somebody into the business, and again, people can tell from this conversation already, I knew what you were going to bring to that business before you were even there, which made it even more important that we brought you in. But making sure that you have in an environment that you can be authentic and that you can be your true self, I think is a part of that stardust that Jim talks about as a business that we have. So
yeah.
again,
And Jack's done a phenomenal job, I must say, at the culture and driving that and setting up the vision. It all really stems from him. So I am so thankful that we have Jack as our director, and he's set us up so that we can be in that headspace. And Ross said something the other day where he's like, you just gotta create an environment where people feel comfortable enough to be weird and silly. And then and I was like, that's great. And it's true. I mean, everyone feels comfortable enough around each other to be that authentic version of themselves. And I think that's probably another, I don't have to show up. Actually, I tell people that a lot, of why I love my job so much, but I feel like I never have to be somebody else when I come into work. And I can't possibly imagine another job where I've got to show up my work version
Mm.
and then come home and I can be someone else. Like that just feels and seems exhausting and not right. So yeah, you just show up like yourself every day and it's great.
Nice, nice. So we're going to tail end of this now. So firstly, just wanted
Yeah.
to again thank you for your time. We talk about the younger you, the what's evolved from the younger you is the future you. And again, that future you is a concept of, I guess, over communication internally with the business about where you want your career to go, and be and tangibly take ownership of that to make steps now to get to where you want to go, and the business will support that. What does Lauren's future you look like? And please don't say Denver, but if that's what you want to do,
It's
then I'm
no
sure we'll
longer
support it.
it's no longer Denver. I've actually
Okay.
discovered that the food is not good there
Okay.
and the food is amazing in Austin. So I
Okay.
just being a foodie, I can't make that move now. Um future me, I honestly am just ready and excited to invest in myself. I think I've poured so much of my management experience over the last between my last company and this company, probably 4 or 5 years of managing teams at this point and giving everything to my team. And I am so grateful that I have that experience and I've done that, especially with the changes that we're making to group things into renewables. It obviously scales back my direct scope a little bit of management, a little bit more. And I think that's really exciting for me because I finally get to, it's not often that you get a opportunity to scale back a little bit and explore what it was almost like to be an individual contributor. And of course, I've got people that I manage because that's just what I do best. I'm never
Mhm.
going to not have that. And I'm never going to not support the people around me and be the person that I have been. But I'm just excited to take this next step and invest in myself a little bit more, explore like what I'm capable of in the right environment. I think everything feels really right here. And that's not something that I've said in the past. So I think with the right support system, the right resources, so, I guess touch with upper leadership, like all of these things that are just going to help me grow into that next person. I'm excited to see, and just explore like what else I can do. And I don't know if I have a definitive answer of what that looks like. Ben Richardson will probably kill me for not having that answer still. But I just want to see what else I can do. I just want to be curious and figure out what's next. So I'm
I
going to take this
think
time and do that.
there's something to be said in also being present, right? Which I know you very much are, and something that you
Yeah.
work on a lot, something I certainly
Yeah.
need to do more of. But there's something to be said about that, especially in, this industry where I guess if you consider looking at other opportunities, or if let's say you're in Austin and you're looking at other businesses from the outside, most agencies recruitment wise are all probably look the same, and the I guess, being UK based, they probably will sound the same as well, right? So, but
Yeah.
if you can find that place that you feel is generally home, and you use the word family there, which I don't know if people buy into that, but I've been here for 6 years, and I feel like, and I know that if I was to come to Austin next week, I wouldn't be any different to how I am now, right? And I know that
Yeah.
the relationships that I built with Ross when we took him through process similar to yourself, from then to now, it's only strengthened, but that comes from not having to change who you are, or be different, and being in that safe environment, which again needs sometimes to take stock of that, and feel that you are present and that you are doing. And I think, you taking those steps into looking inwards from a breathing, from all of that good stuff. I think it's
Yeah.
certainly a great place to be, and somewhere I'd like to be for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last question. This is one that we've asked everybody, which is looking back on your journey. I think I might know the answer to this, but I'm going to let you answer it anyway.
Okay.
If you were to give yourself a piece of advice about the journey that you went on, the first question is, would you have done anything different? The second
Yes.
question, okay. The first question, would you have done anything different? And what one piece of advice would you have given yourself before you'd embarked on this crazy road that is recruitment, without saying don't get into recruitment?
No, I don't regret my decision to get in recruitment. It's been amazing for my personal and like life development. So no regrets. And I don't know if I would have done anything 100% differently, but I definitely would have taken the advice that I was given a lot earlier on. And this isn't just something that people tell you in recruitment, but it's just what they tell you in life. Just don't be so afraid, don't of failure, don't be so hung up on what, others are thinking about your performance or what you're doing or how you're behaving. I think am so aware, and I think that's what makes me so like emotionally in tune with everyone around me, and I'm able to have those conversations with people. I'm so aware of everything that's going on around me that I think sometimes that is a great thing, but sometimes I can get really caught up in what does that mean for everyone else? Like
Mm.
how are my decisions affecting everyone else? If I do this, how, is that going to impact what experience this person has? And I think I would have been a lot more selfish. I would have been a lot less afraid of messing up.
Mm.
And I think that would have kick-started my career a lot earlier than it did. I think those things evolve. You have to, in recruitment, put yourself out there, take risks, be uncomfortable. It's the only way that you're going to get better at this job. And the only way that you're going to find success is by being okay with, you know, getting a big rejection on the phone or messing something up, letting a deal slip because you did something wrong. But you'll never learn if you don't try something different. And I was just so afraid of messing up and wanting to be good at it right away and perfect right away. That kind of hindered, I think, my progression a little bit. And so we got there. We're here.
Well,
But
look,
it took a while.
yeah,
And
I would also say that that journey got you to where you are, right? Which we are
yeah.
obviously very grateful, um and yeah. So, well, wanted to say a massive thank you again, Lauren. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Definitely some insights to take away for people that perhaps are finding themselves in a difficult situation at the moment, and your enthusiasm is infectious. So it's wanting me to get out to Austin ASAP. So
Got to. Yeah.
thank you for your time. I guess we wouldn't be able to do this podcast without doing a little bit of a pitch for Austin. So my understanding is we've got some opportunities going on at the moment in Piper Maddox. Can you give us your elevator pitch for why someone should join and what we're looking for?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously, come work with me and my dog. You can meet Blue. She is more than enough of a pitch. She's the best dog, won Dog of the Year last year in a landslide vote. But no, we're a really great group. I mean, I can't say it enough, but I'm so thankful for the people that I have around me that continue to lift me up, continue to give me support. So we do have a couple opportunities on a really, really high in demand skill set for our EPC team, looking at some engineering skills and jobs that we're working. So definitely need some help there. And we're looking for someone to maybe head up some business development, continue finding great clients to partner with. And so we've had some new starters from other offices, from other companies. They've been having an amazing first few weeks. And so come join them, come work with us. It would be great. I'll take you to some good restaurants. We'll get some good
What's your
food in
go-to?
Austin. Well, for visitors, you've got to get barbecue.
Okay.
You got to have classic Terry Blacks, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of good fusion in Austin, a
Yeah.
lot of Asian fusion, a lot of Tex-Mex, a lot of good blends of cultures going on. And surprisingly, sushi.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
So yeah.
Cool. Well, again, a massive thank you. For those that are listening, feel free to like, subscribe, and comment on this podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you, Lauren. You absolutely smashed it in one take, so I appreciate you for that
Wow.
too. And
Who would have thought?
good luck. Good luck this week or early next week on the presentation. I'm sure we'll see the announcements soon enough. So
Thank you.
again, thank you for everyone for listening, and feel free to reach out to Lauren, connect with her on LinkedIn if you're interested in those opportunities. And thanks again.
Thank you.